The rain hammered against the windows of the Norfolk Naval Base security office as Sarah Martinez sat in the metal chair, her hands cuffed behind her back. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across her face. She kept her breathing steady, her military training kicking in even though she hadn't worn a uniform in 3 years. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one more time," said Chief Petty Officer Williams, leaning forward across the interrogation table. "What's your real name, and why are you impersonating a Navy SEAL?" Sarah looked him straight in the eye. "My name is Sarah Elena Martinez. Former Petty Officer First Class. And I wasn't impersonating anyone." Williams scoffed and slammed a file folder on the table. "Lady, we've been doing this for 4 hours. You walked into our recruitment office claiming you served with SEAL Team 6. You've got no records in our system. No DD-214. Nothing. So either you're delusional or you're running some kind of scam." Sarah's jaw tightened. She could feel the familiar weight of the tattoo on her shoulder blade, hidden beneath her simple gray sweater. The ink that told a story these people would never understand. "I told you to check the classified records. My service was under Special Operations classification." "Special Operations, my ass," Williams muttered, making notes in his file. "We've got 3 witnesses who heard you telling some college kids at the recruitment fair that you were a SEAL. That's a federal crime, lady. Stolen valor. You're looking at serious time." The door opened and another officer entered. Master Chief Rodriguez nodded to Williams before taking a seat. His weathered face showed decades of naval service, and his eyes held the kind of authority that came from real combat experience. "Miss Martinez," Rodriguez said, his voice calmer than Williams. "I've been reviewing your case. Help me understand something. You claim you served with the teams, but you have no documentation. You claim classified service, but even classified personnel have basic records. What am I missing here?" Sarah studied Rodriguez's face. She could see the ribbons on his dress uniform hanging on the wall behind him. Purple Heart. Bronze Star with V device. Combat Action Ribbon. This man had seen real action. Maybe he would understand. "Master Chief," she said quietly, "what I'm about to tell you might sound impossible. But I need you to make a phone call to Admiral Rebecca Chen at SOCOM. Tell her the Phoenix is asking for extraction." Williams laughed harshly. "Phoenix? What kind of comic book nonsense is this?" But Rodriguez held up a hand, his expression suddenly serious. "Phoenix?" He leaned forward. "Where did you hear that call sign?" "Because it was mine," Sarah said simply. "Operation Midnight Phoenix. Libya, 2019. I was the only survivor." The room fell silent. Rodriguez stared at her for a long moment, then stood abruptly. "Williams, step outside." "But, Chief, now." Williams gathered his files and left, clearly frustrated. Rodriguez waited until the door clicked shut, then pulled his chair closer to Sarah. "Young lady, Operation Midnight Phoenix is classified at levels that most people in this building don't even know exist." "How do you know that name?" Sarah met his gaze steadily. "Because I was there. SEAL Team 6 doesn't officially have female operators, Master Chief. But sometimes, for certain missions, they need people who can go places men can't. I was part of a program that officially never existed." Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. "The Ghost Program. You know about it?" "I know rumors. Stories. Urban legends about female operators so deep undercover that even the Navy doesn't acknowledge them." He paused. "Show me your ink." Sarah's eyes widened slightly. "My ink? If you're who you say you are, you've got a trident. But not just any trident. Show me." Sarah hesitated. "I need these cuffs off." Rodriguez studied her face, then reached for his keys. "If you try anything, I've got 40 years of hand-to-hand combat experience." "So do I," Sarah said quietly. He unlocked the cuffs and stepped back. Sarah rubbed her wrists, then slowly turned and lifted her sweater. On her left shoulder blade was a tattoo that made Rodriguez's breath catch. It was indeed a seal trident, but unlike any he'd ever seen. The eagle was rendered in ghostly gray ink that seemed to shift in the light. The anchor was intertwined with a phoenix rising from flames. And, along the bottom, in script so small it was barely visible, were coordinates and a date. Jesus Christ, Rodriguez whispered. That's authentic Ghost Program Inc. I've only seen one other like it. Sarah turned back around, pulling her sweater down. Where? My nephew. He was killed in action in Syria. His body came back with ink just like that. Rodriguez sat down heavily. The family was told he died in a training accident. Never knew he was special operations until I saw his tattoo at the funeral. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. I'm sorry for your loss. The Ghost Program, it cost a lot of good people. Why are you here? Why now? Sarah sat back down, her posture straight despite hours of interrogation. Because I need help, and the Navy is the only family I have left. My handler disappeared 6 months ago. My emergency contacts are all dark. I've been living off the grid since my last mission, but my cover got blown. There are people looking for me, and they're not the good guys. What kind of people? The kind that kill former special operations personnel who know too much about things that never officially happened. Rodriguez leaned back in his chair. And you thought walking into a recruitment office was a good idea? I thought someone would recognize the signs. I thought someone would know to make the right phone calls. Sarah's voice carried a note of desperation she'd been fighting all day. I'd been running for 6 months. I'm tired, Master Chief. I just want to come home. The older man studied her face. He'd seen that look before, in the eyes of warriors who'd given everything for their country and found themselves abandoned. Tell me about Libya. Sarah's jaw tightened. 6-person team. Deep reconnaissance on a terrorist cell manufacturing chemical weapons. Intelligence was bad. We walked into an ambush. I was the only one who made it to the extraction point. Your team? Kia. All of them. Sarah's voice was steady, but Rodriguez could see the pain in her eyes. I carried classified intel out of that hellhole. Information that saved hundreds of lives when we hit their network 2 weeks later. But, officially, that mission never happened. Those 5 operators never existed. And neither did I. Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. Then, he stood and walked to the window, looking out at the rain. The problem is, even if I believe you, I can't verify anything without going through channels that might expose you to the wrong people. That's why I asked for Admiral Chen. She ran the program. She's the only one with authority to confirm my identity. And if she's not available? Sarah's shoulders sagged slightly. Then, I guess I keep running until they catch me. Rodriguez turned back to her. There might be another way. But, it's risky. I'm listening. There's someone else on base who might know about Ghost Program operators. But, if I'm wrong about him, this could go very badly for both of us. Who? Admiral Marcus Thompson. He's here for a special operations review. Word is he's been involved in some very black programs over the years. Sarah frowned. I don't know that name. He wouldn't have used his real name in your world. But, if anyone would recognize authentic Ghost Program credentials, it would be him. There was a knock at the door. Williams poked his head in. Chief, we've got orders from the base commander. Transfer the prisoner to holding pending federal pickup tomorrow morning. Rodriguez looked at Sarah, then, back at Williams. Belay that order. This case requires special handling. But, Chief, I said belay it. I'm taking personal responsibility for this detainee. Williams looked confused but nodded. Yes, Chief. After he left, Rodriguez turned back to Sarah. I'm going to make some calls. But, first, I need you to understand something. If you're lying to me, if this is some elaborate scam, I'll make sure you spend the next 10 years in federal prison. And if I'm telling the truth? Then, I'll do everything in my power to get you the help you need. Sarah nodded. That's all I can ask for. Rodriguez walked to the door, then, paused. One more thing. How did you know to ask for Admiral Chen specifically? Because 3 years ago, she looked me in the eye and promised that if I ever needed help, the Navy would be there for me. I'm hoping she's a woman of her word. Rodriguez studied her face one more time, then left the room. Sarah sat back in her chair and closed her eyes. For the first time in 6 months, she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, she might be safe. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the windows clean. But, inside the secure facility, wheels were beginning to turn that would either save Sarah Martinez or destroy her completely. In his office down the hall, Rodriguez picked up his secure phone and began dialing a number he hadn't called in 5 years. The number that would either confirm the most incredible story he'd ever heard, or reveal the most elaborate deception of his career. As the phone rang, he looked at the notes he'd made during the interview. Phoenix. Libya. Ghost Program. Midnight Phoenix. Either Sarah Martinez was exactly who she claimed to be, or she was the most knowledgeable imposter in military history. The phone was answered on the 4th ring by a crisp female voice. SOCOM Special Operations Division, Admiral Chen's office. Rodriguez took a deep breath. This is Master Chief Rodriguez at Naval Station Norfolk. I need to speak with Admiral Chen immediately. Tell her the Phoenix is asking for extraction. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then, the voice came back, urgent now. Hold please, Master Chief. The Admiral will be with you immediately. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Sarah Martinez had just passed her first test. Now came the hard part. Admiral Rebecca Chen's voice came through the secure line with the force of a hurricane. Master Chief Rodriguez, you have exactly 60 seconds to explain how you know that call sign. Rodriguez gripped the phone tighter. Ma'am, I have a young woman in custody who claims to be former Petty Officer First Class Sarah Martinez, Ghost Program Operator, callsign Phoenix. She specifically requested extraction and asked me to contact you directly. The silence on the other end stretched for what felt like an eternity. When Admiral Chen spoke again, her voice was deadly serious. Describe her. Hispanic female, approximately 28 years old, 5'6", dark hair, brown eyes. She's been detained for alleged stolen valor after claiming SEAL credentials at a recruitment fair. No records in the standard system. What else? Rodriguez hesitated. Ma'am, she has Ghost Program Inc. Authentic, as far as I can tell. She knows details about Operation Midnight Phoenix in Libya, 2019. Another long pause. Master Chief, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and your answer will determine how the next hour goes. Is anyone else aware of this conversation? No, ma'am. I cleared the room and used my personal secure line. Good. Here's what's going to happen. You will move the subject to the most secure holding facility on your base immediately. No paperwork. No records. No one else is to have contact with her until I arrive. Do you understand? Admiral, with respect, I need to understand what I'm dealing with here. Chen's voice softened slightly. Master Chief, Sarah Martinez died 3 years ago in a training accident. At least, that's what the official record states. If the woman in your custody is really her, then she's been living as a ghost for reasons that I can't discuss over any communication channel. Rodriguez felt a chill run down his spine. Ma'am, are you saying I'm saying that if this is really Phoenix, then her appearing now, like this, means something has gone very wrong? How long has she been in custody? About 5 hours. Has she made any other requests? Asked to contact anyone else? No, ma'am. She said her handler disappeared and all her emergency contacts went dark. She seemed desperate, like she was running from something. Admiral Chen was quiet for a moment. Master Chief, I need you to understand something. The program that Sarah Martinez was part of operated at classification levels that require special presidential authorization to discuss. The people she worked against are the kind who hold grudges for decades and have resources that rival small nations. What are you telling me, Admiral? I'm telling you that if the wrong people find out she's in custody, your base could become a battlefield before morning. Rodriguez felt his blood run cold. Should I alert base security? No. Alert no one. Moving too many people will create electronic chatter that might be monitored. Just move her to your most secure facility and wait for me. I'll be there in 4 hours. Admiral, what about the federal pickup order? She's scheduled for transfer tomorrow morning. What federal pickup order? U.S. Marshals Service. They want her transferred for processing on the stolen valor charges. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. When Admiral Chen spoke again, her voice was ice cold. Master Chief, Phoenix has been listed as deceased for 3 years. No legitimate federal agency would issue a pickup order for her because officially, she doesn't exist. Rodriguez felt his stomach drop. Then, who'd move her now? Trust absolutely no one except me. And, Master Chief? If anyone shows up claiming federal authority before I arrive, you treat them as hostile. The line went dead. Rodriguez stared at the phone for a moment, then grabbed his sidearm from his desk drawer. Whatever he'd stumbled into was far bigger than stolen valor. He made his way back to the interrogation room where Sarah waited. When he opened the door, she looked up with those dark eyes that had seen too much. "We need to move," he said simply. Sarah stood immediately. "Admiral Chen is on her way. But we have a problem. Someone issued a federal pickup order for you. Chen says no legitimate agency would do that." Sarah's face went pale. "How long do we have?" "I don't know. Could be hours, could be minutes." "Then, we need to go now." Sarah moved toward the door, then stopped. "Master Chief, I need you to understand something. The people looking for me aren't just criminals. They're well-funded, well-connected, and they have assets inside the government. If they're moving this fast, it means they've been watching and waiting for me to surface." Rodriguez led her down a corridor toward the base's secure facilities. "What did you do that made them want you dead?" "I didn't just survive Libya," Sarah said as they walked. "I brought back intelligence that exposed a network of arms dealers selling chemical weapons to terrorist groups. But some of those arms dealers had connections to people in very high places. People who didn't want that information to come to light. They reached a security checkpoint where Rodriguez badged them through. So they tried to clean up loose ends. Everyone else from my team was Kia in Libya. I was supposed to be too. When I made it out alive, they had a problem." Rodriguez led her into an elevator that required 2 keycards to operate. "How did you survive underground for 3 years?" "Admiral Chen and a handful of others helped me disappear. New identity, new life, far from anything connected to my old world. It worked for a while." The elevator opened into a sub-basement level that few people on base even knew existed. Rodriguez led her past several secure doors to a holding facility that looked more like a safe house than a cell. "What changed?" he asked as he opened the reinforced door. Sarah stepped inside and looked around. The room was comfortable but secure, with no windows and reinforced walls. "My handler was a man named David Chen, Admiral Chen's son. He managed my new identity and served as my only contact with the outside world. 6 months ago, he disappeared." Rodriguez felt another piece click into place. "Family? David was like a brother to me. When he went missing, I knew something was wrong. I tried to maintain my cover, but things started happening. My apartment was broken into. My job received calls asking about my background. Someone was getting close. So you ran." "I ran. But I couldn't run forever. I needed help from the only people I trusted." Rodriguez checked his watch. "Admiral Chen will be here in less than 4 hours. Think you can stay hidden that long?" "Depends on who's coming for me." As if summoned by her words, Rodriguez's radio crackled to life. "Security to all units. We have federal agents at the main gate requesting immediate access for prisoner transfer. ETA 5 minutes. Sarah and Rodriguez locked eyes. "That was fast," she said grimly. Rodriguez keyed his radio. "Security, this is Master Chief Rodriguez. Delay those agents at the gate. Full credential check. I'll be right there." He turned to Sarah. "Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone except me or Admiral Chen. How will I know it's really you?" Rodriguez thought for a moment. "I'll knock 3 times, pause, then twice more. And I'll say Phoenix Rising. Don't respond to anything else." Sarah nodded. "And if you don't come back? Then you're on your own until the Admiral arrives." He handed her a secure phone. "This has her direct number programmed. If things go bad, call her immediately. Rodriguez sealed the door behind him and made his way to the security office. Through the monitors, he could see 3 black SUVs at the main gate. Men in suits were showing credentials to the gate guards. They looked professional, official, and completely wrong. Chief Williams, he called to his subordinate. Get me a full background check on those credentials. And call the U.S. Marshals Service Headquarters. Verify that pickup order. Williams looked confused. Sir, they have proper federal identification. Do it anyway. Rodriguez watched the monitors as one of the agents became increasingly agitated with the delay. The man was speaking rapidly into a phone, and his body language suggested he was receiving orders he didn't like. Williams hung up the phone, his face troubled. Chief, I've got a problem. The Marshal Service has no record of any pickup order for a Sarah Martinez. In fact, they have no active cases involving stolen valor at this location. Rodriguez felt his blood turn to ice. Lock down the base. Now. Sir? Full lockdown. No one enters or exits. These people are not federal agents. As Rodriguez reached for the alarm, the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red light. The monitors showed the fake agents rushing their vehicles toward the main building. Rodriguez grabbed Williams by the shoulder. Get on the radio. Alert all security teams. We have hostile agents on base. This is not a drill. As sirens began to wail across Norfolk Naval Base, Rodriguez knew that Sarah Martinez's past had finally caught up with her. The only question now was whether they could keep her alive long enough for Admiral Chen to arrive. In her secure room deep underground, Sarah heard the sirens and felt a familiar cold settle in her stomach. She'd heard those same sounds in Libya, just before everything went to hell. She checked the secure phone Rodriguez had given her and prepared for the fight she'd been avoiding for 3 years. The people who wanted her dead had finally found her. But this time, she wasn't running into the desert alone. This time, she had the United States Navy standing between her and the shadows that had haunted her for so long. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but now it washed over a base preparing for war. The sound of gunfire erupted across Norfolk Naval Base as Sarah Martinez sat in the underground holding room, listening to the chaos above. The secure phone in her hand vibrated with an incoming call. Admiral Chen's number. Phoenix. Sarah answered without preamble. Sarah, thank God. Are you secure? For now. But they found me faster than we anticipated. Admiral Chen's voice was tight with concern. I'm 20 minutes out. Master Chief Rodriguez filled me in. These aren't random criminals, Sarah. The intelligence we're seeing suggests this is a coordinated operation with serious backing. Sarah closed her eyes. They've had 3 years to plan this. I should have stayed hidden. No. You were right to surface. We've been monitoring chatter for months about a cleanup operation targeting former Ghost program personnel. You walking into that recruitment office probably saved your life. How do you figure? Because if you'd stayed in your apartment another week, they would have taken you quietly. No witnesses. No fuss. Here, they have to fight the entire U.S. Navy to get to you. Explosions rumbled through the building structure above them. Sarah could hear the distinctive sound of automatic weapons fire getting closer. Admiral, they're inside the building. How many people know about this facility? Very few. But, Sarah, there's something else you need to know. David's disappearance wasn't random. We found his body 3 days ago. Sarah felt the world tilt. David Chen had been her lifeline, her brother in every way that mattered. How? Professional execution. Made to look like a mugging, but the forensics tell a different story. He was tortured first. They were looking for information. About me. About all of you. Sarah, you weren't the only Ghost program operator they've been hunting. In the past 6 months, we've lost contact with 4 others. You're the only one still alive that we know of. Sarah's training kicked in, pushing the grief aside. She could mourn David later. Right now, she needed to survive. What's the tactical situation up there? Rodriguez has his people holding the main corridors, but these attackers are well-equipped and well-trained. They're not just here to grab you. They're here to eliminate everyone who knows you exist. The lights in Sarah's room flickered. Power was failing throughout the building. She heard the distinctive sound of the elevator shaft being accessed above her. "Admiral, they're coming. Hold position. I'm 5 minutes out with a Marine security team. 5 minutes might be too long." The sound of controlled explosions echoed through the facility. They were breaching doors systematically, working their way down. Sarah checked the room for anything she could use as a weapon. The furniture was bolted down, but she found a metal leg from a broken chair that had been stored in a corner. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 more. Phoenix rising. Sarah's blood ran cold. That was Rodriguez's code, but something felt wrong. The voice was slightly off, the timing too quick. "Master Chief," she called through the door. "Sarah, we need to move. The Admiral's here early." "Definitely not Rodriguez." Sarah backed away from the door and keyed the phone. "Admiral, someone's outside my door using Rodriguez's code." "It's not him. Do not open that door. Rodriguez is pinned down 3 floors up." Sarah heard the sound of electronic equipment being attached to her door. They were preparing to breach. "Admiral, they're about to blow the door." "Sarah, listen to me carefully. Do you remember the emergency protocols from Libya?" Sarah's mind flashed back to the nightmare mission that had changed everything. The protocols for when extraction was impossible and you were surrounded by hostiles. Go to ground. Trust no one. Survive by any means necessary. That's right. There's an emergency tunnel system in that facility. Check the back wall behind the bathroom mirror. Sarah rushed to the small bathroom and pulled the mirror aside. Behind it was a narrow maintenance hatch. She could hear the breaching charges being set on the main door. Found it. The tunnel leads to the submarine dock. There's a boat waiting. Call sign Ghost Rider. Tell them Phoenix needs extraction. The main door exploded inward as Sarah squeezed through the maintenance hatch. She could hear men shouting orders as they realized the room was empty. The tunnel was barely wide enough for her shoulders, and she had to crawl forward in complete darkness. Behind her, she heard one of the attackers speaking into a radio. Target is not in the room. Beginning systematic search of the facility. The tunnel seemed to stretch forever. Sarah's hands were bleeding from the rough concrete, and her knees were raw through her jeans. But she kept moving, driven by the same determination that had carried her through the Libyan desert 3 years earlier. Finally, she saw a light ahead. The tunnel ended at a grate that looked out onto the submarine dock. Rain was still falling, and the dock was shrouded in darkness. She could see a small patrol boat tied up at the far end, but between her and the boat were several hundred yards of open space. Sarah pushed the grate open and slipped out into the night. The rain immediately soaked through her clothes, but it also provided cover from any surveillance. She stayed low, moving from shadow to shadow toward the patrol boat. Halfway across the dock, floodlights erupted across the area. Someone had found the tunnel entrance and alerted the attackers outside. Sarah broke into a run as gunfire erupted behind her. The patrol boat's engines roared to life as she approached. A figure in Navy utilities appeared on deck and waved her forward. "Phoenix," he shouted over the engine noise. "That's me," Sarah replied, diving onto the deck as bullets sparked off the dock around her. The boat pulled away from the dock at full speed as Sarah caught her breath. The sailor who'd helped her aboard was young, maybe 25, but his eyes held the steady calm of a professional warrior. "Petty Officer Marcus Thompson," he introduced himself. "Admiral Chen sent us." "Thompson? Any relation to Admiral Marcus Thompson?" "My father. He's the one who arranged this extraction." Sarah looked back at the base as they sped away. Fires were burning in several buildings, and she could see helicopters circling overhead. "How many people died tonight because of me?" "Ma'am, with respect, this isn't your fault. These people have been planning this operation for months. If anything, your surfacing helped us prepare for it." The boat's radio crackled. Admiral Chen's voice came through clearly. "Ghost Rider, this is Overwatch. Report status. Thompson keyed the radio. Overwatch, Ghost Rider. Package secure and en route to Rally Point. Acknowledged. Be advised, hostile forces are attempting to pursue by water. You may have company. As if summoned by her words, Sarah saw the lights of fast boats emerging from behind them. 3 vessels, moving at high speed and closing the distance quickly. They're persistent, Sarah muttered. Thompson grinned. Ma'am, you haven't seen what this boat can do. He pushed the throttles forward, and Sarah felt the patrol boat surge ahead with surprising power. The bow lifted out of the water as they accelerated to speeds that seemed impossible for a vessel this size. What exactly is this thing? Sarah asked, gripping the rail as they bounced across the waves. Officially? A routine patrol boat. Unofficially? One of the Navy's new experimental fast attack craft. We borrowed it for this mission. The pursuing boats were falling behind, unable to match their speed. But Sarah could see muzzle flashes from their decks. They were shooting at long range, hoping to get lucky. Where are we headed? Rendezvous with Admiral Chen's task force. She's got a cruiser standing by with a full security detail. Sarah looked back at Norfolk one last time. Master Chief Rodriguez was still back there somewhere, along with dozens of other sailors who'd risked their lives to protect her. What about Rodriguez and the others? Thompson's expression darkened. Last report had them holding defensive positions. The Marines arrived about 10 minutes ago and are pushing the attackers back. But it's been costly. Sarah felt the familiar weight of survivor's guilt settling on her shoulders. Once again, good people were paying the price for her survival. How many? 6 Kia so far. Dozen wounded. Sarah closed her eyes and let the rain wash over her face. 6 more names to add to the list of people who'd died because of secrets she carried. First her team in Libya, now American sailors on their own base. Ma'am, Thompson said quietly, if it helps, Admiral Chen briefed us on what you did in Libya. The intelligence you brought back saved hundreds of lives. That chemical weapons network was planning attacks on American cities. Doesn't make tonight any easier. No ma'am, it doesn't. But it means something. The lights of a major warship appeared ahead of them. Sarah could see the distinctive silhouette of a guided missile cruiser, its radar arrays spinning as it maintained a defensive perimeter. Smaller escort vessels were positioned around it like a protective shield. USS Monterey, Thompson announced. Admiral Chen's flagship. As they approached the cruiser, Sarah felt a strange mix of relief and apprehension. She was safe for now, but safety had come at a terrible cost. And, somewhere out there, the people who'd orchestrated tonight's attack were already planning their next move. The patrol boat pulled alongside the cruiser's boat deck. Sailors threw down lines and prepared to bring Sarah aboard. As she prepared to climb the ladder to safety, she wondered if this cycle of violence would ever end. At the top of the ladder, Admiral Rebecca Chen was waiting. The woman looked exactly as Sarah remembered, early 50s, steel gray hair, eyes that missed nothing. She was the kind of officer who inspired absolute loyalty and absolute terror in equal measure. Welcome home, Phoenix, Admiral Chen said as Sarah reached the deck. Ma'am, Sarah replied, coming to attention despite her soaked clothes and exhausted state. Stand easy, Sarah. We have a lot to discuss. The briefing room aboard the USS Monterey was dimmed to accommodate the multiple screens displaying intelligence data. Sarah Martinez sat at the conference table, studying photographs of the men who had attacked Norfolk Naval Base. Admiral Chen stood at the front of the room, flanked by intelligence officers and Marine security personnel. The attack on Norfolk was coordinated by a private military contractor called Obsidian Solutions, Admiral Chen began. On paper, they're a legitimate security firm providing services to Fortune 500 companies. In reality, they're a cleanup crew for people with very dark secrets. Sarah studied the photos more closely. The faces were unfamiliar, but the equipment and tactics were unmistakably professional. Who's paying them? That's where it gets complicated. A new voice came from the back of the room. Sarah turned to see Admiral Marcus Thompson entering, followed by Master Chief Rodriguez. Both men looked exhausted but determined. Master Chief, Sarah said, relief evident in her voice. I heard you were pinned down. Rodriguez managed a tired smile. Takes more than a few mercenaries to keep me down. Though I'll admit, it was touch and go for a while. Admiral Thompson took a seat across from Sarah. Miss Martinez, I've been briefed on your situation. What Admiral Chen hasn't told you yet is that Obsidian Solutions has connections that reach into the highest levels of government. How high? Admiral Chen activated another screen, showing a web of corporate connections and financial transactions. Senator Patrick Walsh, Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Congressman Michael Brennan, House Armed Services. Deputy Secretary of State Catherine Morse. All have received substantial campaign contributions from companies connected to Obsidian's parent corporation. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. They have people in Congress? Not just Congress, Admiral Thompson said grimly. We've identified at least 12 high-ranking officials across multiple agencies who have financial ties to the network you exposed in Libya. When you brought back that intelligence, you didn't just threaten arms dealers. You threatened some very powerful people who were profiting from those illegal sales. Master Chief Rodriguez leaned forward. The chemical weapons your team discovered weren't just being sold to terrorists. They were being sold to anyone with the right price, including rebel groups that certain politicians wanted to arm without going through official channels. Plausible deniability, Sarah said, understanding beginning to dawn. If the weapons came from criminals instead of official U.S. channels, there would be no paper trail back to Washington. Exactly. Your intelligence didn't just expose the arms dealers. It exposed a shadow foreign policy operation worth billions of dollars. Admiral Chan activated another screen showing a timeline of events. After you brought back that intelligence, the FBI raid shut down the entire network. Arrests were made, assets were seized, and a lot of very powerful people lost a lot of money. More importantly, they lost a tool for conducting operations they couldn't officially authorize. Sarah studied the timeline. So they decided to clean up the loose ends. Starting with your team, Admiral Thompson confirmed. The ambush in Libya wasn't bad intelligence. It was a deliberate attempt to eliminate everyone who knew about the operation. But I survived. You survived, and you brought back proof of what you'd found. So they had to try a different approach. Make you disappear quietly, hoping the intelligence would disappear with you. Rodriguez pulled out a tablet showing surveillance footage. We've been tracking Obsidian's movements for the past week. They didn't just come after you. They've been systematically hunting down anyone connected to the Ghost program. Sarah watched the footage showing black SUVs at various locations. How many others are left? Admiral Chen's expression darkened. As far as we know, you're the only surviving Ghost program operator. The others were eliminated over the past 6 months, made to look like accidents or random crimes. The weight of that statement hit Sarah like a physical blow. All of her brothers and sisters from the program, all the people who'd shared the burden of operating in the shadows, were gone. She was truly alone. There's more, Admiral Thompson said quietly. David Chen wasn't just your handler. He was investigating the murders of other Ghost program personnel. His death wasn't random retaliation. He was getting too close to the truth. Sarah felt tears she'd been holding back for days threatening to spill over. What did he find? Admiral Chan activated a final screen showing a complex organizational chart. David discovered that Obsidian Solutions is just the operational arm. The real power behind this cleanup operation is a consortium of defense contractors, intelligence officials, and politicians who all profited from the arms dealing network you exposed. They call themselves the Prometheus Group, Rodriguez added. Very exclusive, very secretive, very well connected. Sarah studied the chart, memorizing faces and names. What's our play? That depends on you, Admiral Chen said. We can relocate you again. New identity, new life, better protection. You could disappear completely this time. Or, Admiral Thompson leaned forward. Or we use you as bait to draw them out. Make them come to us on our terms instead of theirs. Sarah was quiet for a long moment, thinking about David, about her fallen teammates, about the 6 sailors who died at Norfolk. If we run, they'll just keep hunting. There will always be another loose end to tie up, another witness to silence. That's our assessment, Admiral Chen agreed. Then, we end it. Rodriguez smiled grimly. I was hoping you'd say that. Admiral Chen pulled up a map of the eastern seaboard. Intelligence suggests the Prometheus group is planning something big. Not just cleaning up loose ends, but a major operation that would require the kind of weapons network you helped destroy. What kind of operation? We're not sure yet. But the chatter indicates they're trying to restart the arms dealing network, bigger than before. They need you eliminated not just for revenge, but because you're the only person alive who can identify the key players. Sarah stood and walked to the map, studying the marked locations. Where do we think they're operating from? Admiral Thompson joined her at the map. Multiple locations, but the center appears to be here. He pointed to a spot along the Virginia coast. Private estate owned by a shell company. Perfect for moving people and equipment without attracting attention. What's the plan? Admiral Chen smiled for the first time since Sarah had arrived. We're going to give them exactly what they want. You. Explain. We leak information that you're being moved to a safe house near their base of operations. Make them think they have a chance to grab you quietly, without the publicity of another military base assault. Rodriguez pulled up building schematics on his tablet. The safe house is real, but it's a trap. We'll have a full tactical team in position, surveillance equipment throughout the area, and multiple extraction routes planned. And if they don't take the bait? Admiral Thompson's expression hardened. Then, we go to them. But this way is cleaner, with less risk to civilians. Sarah nodded slowly. How long do we have to prepare? 48 hours. We need to move fast before they realize how much we know about their operation. Admiral Chen walked to a secure communications console. Sarah, I need you to understand something. This mission is completely off the books. If it goes wrong, the Navy will disavow any knowledge of your existence. You'll be on your own. Just like Libya. Just like Libya. Are you sure you want to do this? Sarah thought about David Chen, about her teammates who died in the desert, about Master Chief Rodriguez and the sailors who'd risked everything to protect her. The cycle of violence would continue until someone broke it. I'm sure. The next hours passed in a blur of mission planning and equipment preparation. Sarah felt the familiar rhythm of special operations planning settling over her like an old coat. Target analysis, contingency planning, equipment selection, emergency procedures. It was dangerous work, but it was work she understood. As the briefing concluded, Rodriguez pulled her aside. Sarah, I want you to know something. What happened at Norfolk, those 6 sailors who died, that wasn't your fault. Master Chief, no, listen to me. I've been in this Navy for 30 years. I've seen good people die for bad reasons, and I've seen good people die for causes that mattered. Tonight, those sailors died protecting someone who risked everything to stop chemical weapons from reaching American cities. That matters. Sarah felt the tears she'd been holding back finally spill over. I just want it to end. It will. One way or another, it will. As the USS Monterey changed course toward the Virginia coast, Sarah Martinez prepared for what might be her final mission. In 48 hours, she would either be free of the shadows that had haunted her for 3 years, or she would join her fallen teammates in whatever comes after the darkness. But, for the first time since David's death, she wasn't alone. The United States Navy was backing her play, and she was ready to fight back against the forces that had stolen so much from her. The hunters were about to learn that the Phoenix could still rise from the ashes of her past. In the ship's armory, Sarah checked her equipment one final time. The familiar weight of a combat load felt right on her shoulders. Tomorrow night, she would walk into the lion's den armed with nothing but her training, her determination, and the knowledge that sometimes the only way out of hell is straight through it. The rain had stopped, and stars were visible through the porthole. Somewhere out there, the Prometheus group was planning her death. But Sarah Martinez had died once before, in the desert of Libya, and had been reborn as something harder and more dangerous than they could imagine. Phoenix was rising, and she was coming for them all. The safe house sat on a cliff overlooking the Chesapeake Bay, exactly where Admiral Chen had said it would be. Sarah Martinez crouched in the tree line 50 yards away, watching the building through night vision optics. The house looked empty, but she knew that appearances could be deceiving. Phoenix, this is Overwatch, Admiral Chen's voice crackled through her earpiece. Report status. In position. No visible activity at the target house, but I count at least 6 heat signatures in the surrounding woods. They're already here. Confirmed. We have eyes on multiple vehicles approximately 2 miles out. Obsidian team, full tactical gear. Sarah checked her equipment one final time. She carried a suppressed pistol, flashbang grenades, and enough ammunition for a sustained firefight. More importantly, she carried a small device that would record everything that happened in the next hour. Remember, Admiral Thompson's voice joined the conversation. We need at least one of them alive for interrogation. The recording device will capture audio, but we need someone who can identify the people giving the orders. Copy that. Sarah moved toward the house, staying low and using the shadows for cover. Beginning approach. The safe house was a 2-story colonial with large windows and multiple entry points. Under normal circumstances, it would be defensible. But these weren't normal circumstances. Sarah wasn't trying to hold the building. She was trying to draw the enemy inside where they could be captured. She reached the back door and knelt down, pretending to work on the lock. In reality, she was activating the recording equipment hidden throughout the house. Every conversation, every order, every moment of the coming confrontation would be preserved as evidence. Movement in the forest caught her eye. Dark figures were advancing through the trees, professional and coordinated. Sarah counted at least 8 men, all carrying automatic weapons and moving with the precision of trained operators. Overwatch, I count 8 hostiles converging on my position. Where's our backup? Marine Force Recon Team is in position 1 mile out. They'll move on your signal. Sarah entered the house through the back door and made her way to the living room. She positioned herself near a window with a clear view of the approaches, then activated a small beacon that would make it appear as though someone was using electronic equipment inside the house. The first Obsidian operative reached the front porch within minutes. Sarah could hear him speaking quietly into a radio. Target building secured. Thermal imaging shows one person inside, 2nd floor, northeast room. Sarah smiled grimly. The thermal decoy Admiral Chen's technical team had planted was working perfectly. The enemy thought she was hiding upstairs while she was actually positioned to control the ground floor. Copy that, Alpha Team. Bravo Team, cover the exits. Charlie Team, prepare for entry. More voices joined the radio chatter as the assault team moved into position. Sarah recognized the voice of the team leader from intelligence briefings. Marcus Stone, former Delta Force operator turned mercenary. He was one of Obsidian's most experienced operatives. Remember, Stone's voice came clearly through the surveillance equipment. We need her alive for questioning. The client wants to know everything she told the Navy before we eliminate her. Sarah felt a cold smile spread across her face. They were already providing evidence of conspiracy to commit murder. Alpha Team, breach in 30 seconds. Sarah moved to a concealed position behind the kitchen counter. From here, she could see the front entrance and the hallway leading to the stairs. When they came through the door, they would be focused on reaching the 2nd floor where they thought she was hiding. The front door exploded inward in a shower of splinters and smoke. 4 men in tactical gear rushed through the opening, weapons raised and moving with practiced precision toward the staircase. 2nd floor clear, came a voice from upstairs. No target. Building appears empty. Stone's voice carried anger and confusion. That's impossible. Thermal showed a heat signature. Sir, we found the source. It's a heating element connected to a timer. We've been played. Sarah keyed her radio. Overwatch, they've discovered the decoy. Moving to phase 2. She activated a series of small charges that had been placed throughout the house. Not enough to cause serious injury, but enough to disorient and confuse the assault team. Smoke began pouring from vents throughout the building as the lights went out. Contact. Contact. We have explosives in the building. All teams, fall back to perimeter positions. This is a trap. Sarah moved through the smoke-filled house using her night vision, heading toward the back exit. But, instead of fleeing, she circled around to come up behind the Obsidian team as they regrouped outside. Stone to control, she heard through her surveillance equipment. Target was not in the building. Repeat, target was not in the building. We need immediate extraction. Negative, came a new voice that made Sarah's blood run cold. She recognized it from intercepted communications in Libya. Robert Vance, former CIA deputy director and one of the key figures in the Prometheus group. Target is in the area. Find her. Sir, this feels like a military operation. We may be walking into a larger trap. I don't care what it feels like. That woman has cost us billions of dollars and exposed our entire network. Find her, get the information we need, and eliminate her. Sarah had heard enough. She keyed her radio. Overwatch, initiate extraction. We have what we came for. Flares suddenly lit up the night sky as Marine Force Recon emerged from positions throughout the forest. Loudspeakers crackled to life with Admiral Thompson's voice. Obsidian operatives, this is Admiral Marcus Thompson, United States Navy. You are surrounded by Marines and under arrest for assault on federal property and attempted murder. Lay down your weapons immediately. The response was immediate gunfire as the Obsidian team chose to fight rather than surrender. Sarah drew her pistol and moved toward Stone's position. He was the priority target, the one most likely to have direct contact with the Prometheus group leadership. She found him behind a fallen log, speaking urgently into a satellite phone. Control, we need immediate air support. The Navy has deployed Marines, and we're outnumbered 3-1. Air support is 20 minutes out, came Vance's voice. Hold your position. Sarah pressed the barrel of her pistol against the back of Stone's neck. End the call. Stone froze, then slowly lowered the phone. Phoenix. I should have known. Marcus Stone. Former Delta Force, current war criminal. You've been hunting me for 3 years. Just following orders. Whose orders? Sarah kept the gun steady as she reached for Stone's satellite phone. Who's running Prometheus Group? Stone smiled coldly. You really think I'm going to tell you anything? I think you're going to tell me everything. Because the alternative is spending the rest of your life in a federal prison cell. The gunfire around them was intensifying as the Marines closed in on the remaining Obsidian operatives. Sarah could hear Admiral Chen coordinating the operation through her earpiece. Phoenix, we have air support inbound. Not ours. Sarah looked up to see helicopter lights approaching from the southeast. Stone, looks like your boss is coming to clean up loose ends. Including you. Stone's confident expression wavered slightly. What do you mean? I mean the Prometheus group doesn't leave witnesses. You think they're coming to rescue you? They're coming to make sure you never testify. The helicopter circled overhead, and Sarah could see the door gunner preparing to fire. But, instead of targeting the Marines, the aircraft opened fire on the Obsidian positions. Stone's face went white as he realized what was happening. They're killing their own people. Welcome to the club. Now start talking. Stone looked at the satellite phone in Sarah's hand, then at the helicopter systematically eliminating his team. Robert Vance runs day-to-day operations. But the real power is Senator Walsh. He's been using congressional oversight to protect the network and eliminate threats. Sarah felt the final pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. Walsh ordered the hit on my team in Libya? Walsh ordered all of it. The ambush, the cleanup operation, everything. He couldn't afford to have the arms-dealing network exposed because half of Congress was profiting from it. The helicopter was moving toward their position now. Sarah grabbed Stone by his tactical vest and pulled him toward the tree line. We need to move. Your friends are coming to tie up loose ends. They reached the cover of the forest just as the helicopter's guns tore apart the position they just vacated. Sarah keyed her radio. Overwatch, I have Stone in custody with full confession. But we have hostile air support eliminating witnesses. Copy that, Phoenix. Marine air support is 2 minutes out. Can you hold? Negative. They're cleaning house. We need immediate extraction. Admiral Chen's voice came through clearly. Phoenix, there's a Marine patrol boat standing by at the dock below the cliffs. Can you reach it? Sarah looked toward the cliff edge, roughly 300 yards away through dense forest. The helicopter was circling back for another pass. On our way. She forced Stone to move ahead of her toward the cliff, keeping her pistol trained on him as they navigated through the trees. Behind them, she could hear the helicopter landing and armed men disembarking. "They're going to kill you too," Stone said as they reached the cliff edge. "You know too much now. Let me worry about that." The patrol boat was visible below, its engines running and crew ready for immediate departure. A rope ladder had been dropped from the cliff top. Sarah gestured for Stone to climb down first. "After you." Stone hesitated. If I tell them everything I know about Prometheus Group, what guarantee do I have?" "You have my word that I won't throw you off this cliff." Stone looked at the 100-foot drop to the rocks below, then began climbing down the rope ladder. Sarah followed, keeping one hand on her weapon. They reached the patrol boat just as the helicopter appeared overhead. But, this time, it was joined by 2 Marine attack helicopters that had arrived to even the odds. "This is Marine Air Support. Unknown aircraft, you are in violation of restricted airspace. Land immediately or you will be fired upon." The Obsidian helicopter broke off and headed out to sea, apparently deciding that discretion was the better part of valor. As the patrol boat sped toward the USS Monterey, Sarah sat across from Marcus Stone in the cabin. He was staring at his hands, the weight of betraying his employers evident on his face. "Was it worth it?" she asked. "The money? Yeah, it was worth it. Until tonight. I'm talking about the people you killed. The Ghost Program operators, David Chen, the sailors at Norfolk." Stone looked up at her. "You really think this is going to end with my testimony? Walsh is a United States Senator. Vance has connections throughout the intelligence community. They'll make this all disappear." "Maybe. But, for the first time in 3 years, people know the truth. That has to count for something." 3 hours later, Sarah stood in the communications center of the USS Monterey, watching news reports on every major network. The story was already breaking: massive corruption scandal involving arms dealing, murdered special operations personnel, and attacks on U.S. military installations. Senator Walsh had been taken into custody by FBI agents as he tried to board a private plane to a non-extradition country. Robert Vance was found dead in his Georgetown apartment, an apparent suicide. The Prometheus Group's network was collapsing as investigators followed the money trails Stone had provided. Admiral Chen joined her at the communications console. "It's over, Sarah. Really over this time." Sarah watched Senator Walsh's perp walk on live television. "What happens now? Now you get to decide who you want to be. Sarah Martinez is officially dead, but Phoenix can become anyone you choose." "And the Navy?" Admiral Chen smiled. "The Navy will always have a place for someone with your skills, if you want it. The Ghost program is finished, but there are other programs, other ways to serve." Sarah thought about David Chen, about her fallen teammates, about Master Chief Rodriguez and all the people who'd risked everything to bring her home. "I think I'd like to try being Sarah Martinez again. See how that works out. I think that can be arranged." As the USS Monterey headed back to Norfolk, Sarah stood on the deck watching the sunrise. For the first time in 3 years, she wasn't looking over her shoulder or planning her next move. The shadows that had haunted her were finally gone. The Phoenix had risen from the ashes of her past, but now it was time for Sarah Martinez to build a future. The hunt was over, and she was finally free to come home. In the distance, the Virginia coast was waking up to a new day, and, for the first time since Livia, Sarah Martinez was awake to see it without fear. The nightmare was over. The healing could begin.